Hi there, greetings, and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. Excuse me. So we're here to do an episode of Commonalities Compared. This is a show that I do every Sunday night in which Ben, a subscriber of mine, gives me some rock commonalities that I can connect but also disconnect, I guess is the best way to put it. So it could be two bands, could be two albums, could be two guitar players, could be two piano players, could be any commonality. So today he's giving me a not necessarily a rock commonality, but at least one of them isn't rock anyways. So, but they do have something in common. So we're going to do two supergroups. One from the country genre of music, from country western genre of music. The other one, a kind of a pop genre of music. They do have a couple of things in common. So the first thing I will do is announce who they are. So we have the Travelling Wilburys here. This is one of the two bands. Is this actually inside out? No, it isn't. Sorry. And then the other one is called the Countrymen, which is a country western band. So in the Travelling Wilburys, of course, you have Roy Orbison, George Harrison, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and Bob Dylan. I believe those are the five guys in this band. In the Countrymen, you have, of course, Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, and Willie Nelson. Those are the four there. So these are what we would call supergroups. Now, I've never been a big fan of supergroups. I'm not really a supergroup type of guy. The only supergroups that I ever really listened to with any intenseness was Cream. The rest of them, not really. There may be an album or two, like in the case of the Travelling Wilburys. I do like this one. I may like the second one, which is Volume 3, if I ever get it, but I'm not sure that will happen. And I have liked a little bit of Asia. I did like their first album, but generally speaking, I'm not a supergroup band. Although I do like the Chronicles of Father Robin. There is some debate as to whether that's a supergroup or not. I mean, it's a bunch of people from a bunch of different bands, but whether that makes them a supergroup or not, I don't know. Anyways, so both these bands are supergroup. The Countrymen being a country western band of supergroup stuff. Now, I've never been and never will be accused of being a country western listening tour. I was inundated with it as a child and swore that once I got away from that, I would never listen to it again. Now, of course, that's the musings of somebody who's been overindulged in something and is also was a child. I don't really necessarily carry that grudge much anymore. On occasion, I do listen to some Hank Williams, if you can believe that. Have listened to a few other people in that genre as well. But generally speaking, I'm not a country western fan. I did listen to both Countrymen's first two albums. They weren't actually even called the Countrymen. These just was the name of the albums, but eventually that label stuck with them, and that's what they became. Now, only one of them is still surviving, Willie Nelson. In the case of this band, the Travelling Wilburys, I believe Bob Dylan, Fred Lynne are still alive too. So you've got 2 out of 4 or 5 there. So what are their commonalities? Well, obviously you've got 4 guys who can sing in one band and 5 guys who can sing in the other band. That's definitely a commonality. These guys are all solo artists on their own with huge careers at one point or another. All of them in both bands. This band has a lot more of a rock flavor to it. I would say pop, a little bit of rock, even a little bit of that country feeling to some of their songs as well, especially the Roy Orbison-led stuff. But all pretty good vocalists and very recognizable vocal sounds. The same with the Countrymen. So you've got 4 guys who have been very successful on their own, coming together. All their voices are fairly distinctive. Maybe I might have a little bit of a trouble pulling Waylon Jennings away from Chris Christopherson. There's a little bit of similarity there, but I guess if I'd listened to them more, I probably would be able to tell the difference. Johnny Cash is obvious to me, as is Willie Nelson. Both those guys, very distinctive voices. And it's the same in this band. There's not really anybody that confuses me when I hear them singing. They all have very distinctive voices and very distinctive sounds. Both of them had lots of hits. The Countrymen were, some people say, the greatest country western band of all time. I don't know the Travelling Wilburys would get that title in the rock genre. However, they are well known, and they had lots of hits on this album, and then again on the second album as well. These are not two bands that I spend too much time listening to. I probably spent a lot more time listening to these guys than the Countrymen. But I did listen to both Countrymen albums. I had no problem with either of the albums. My dad used to be a big hater of Johnny Cash. Was the one country western artist that he couldn't stand, often referring to him as the rock guy trying to pretend to be a country western singer. So take that for whatever it's worth. He didn't care for him, so I got a bit of a negative stack on my head for Johnny Cash, although I don't really think that there's anything really that wrong with him. As to whether he's rock or country, to me he's clearly a country western singer. I wouldn't classify him as a rock guy at all. Anyways, so both pretty solid album, this one, and I did listen to their Volume 3, which is their second album. I listened to that today for the first time. Actually a little bit heavier of an album. Also, there's no Roy Orbison. He had passed by this time for that album. But I found it a little bit more rockier, a little bit heavier in sound, and actually not a bad album. It's one that, if I seen it, I would definitely collect it. But I have not seen that one, so. But at least now I know what it looks like. As for the Countrymen, I don't see there being a point in my future where I would venture to spend any money on any country western albums, nor would I venture to listen to them again. That's just the way it is with me. Perhaps that'll change someday, but I pray every night that it doesn't. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Commonalities Compared, featuring the Countrymen from country western music and the Travelling Wilburys from the pop genre. So we will see you next week. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and notification bell. And if you want to make comments about either of these two bands, you can put that in the comment section below. And we will see you next week for Commonalities Compared. Take care and have a good one. Goodbye.